Your turn, Yogi boy.
What is up, guys? This is AlintheaYoh coming at you today with a debut deck profile of my Paleozoic frogs. Now, you could call it Froggeozoic, and I quite like that name. So without further ado, we'll go straight into it. So this is my version of it. It's a really fun deck and it's surprisingly competitive. It has been doing very well out in the OCG. And yeah, so here we go. So you can see, so starting us off, we have 3 Swap Frog. Obviously we are playing Swap Frog because it is one of the best cards for the deck. It's just absolutely amazing in getting to your combos, being able to do absolutely all of your big extension plays and even some of your basic plays. So it's a very important card. You want to see it as early as possible if the chance comes to it. And it's just one of those cards that is really needed in my opinion. So it's at 3. Next up, we have 3 Duke Frog. Duke Frog is here simply because it's a great target for the Ronan Toad to banish, sorry. It's good also for Swap Frog to send to the graveyard, but one of the most important things is it is good to bring out with totally awesome second effect, being able to special summon a frog during the standby phase. So it's a really good way to get it out. Yes, the dupe lock can be done in 2016, which is a really nice thing. And just in general, it's really good. So it is one of the most important cards as well in the deck, along with a Swap Frog. So yeah, it's pretty decent. Next up, we have 2 Ronan Toad. Now, 2 Ronan Toad is only needed, in my opinion, simply because you're going to be banishing a lot. You can't banish a Ronan Toad with a Ronan Toad effect. You can only banish the frog, so Duke Frog and Swap Frog. So it makes sense just to summon 2 because you're not really going to be summoning 3 at the same time. Normally the way that you'll be bringing out multiple Ronan Toadins is you'll be using Xe effects to send it back into the graveyard and then you can keep recycling. So it's important to know that that's how you use it. So 2 Ronin is really good and kind of just fine, to be honest. Next up, we have 2 Barrier Statue of the Torrent. So Barrier Statue of the Torrent is just a little bit of a stun aspect of the deck. Since you only really special summon waters, which they're the main ones, you do have other things in your extra deck that aren't water, but the main ones are water, so it kind of makes sense to put this in here. It's arguably one of the better barrier stuns or barrier statues for this meta currently. You've got ABCs that are light. You have Burning Abyss, which are dark. You have all of these different decks, and there's only really Mermail, that is the water monsters, that are really used in this meta, like a full deck. Like obviously Norden is a water, but kind of doesn't make sense, you know. So it's really good card right now, and I really do recommend it if you are playing this deck. If you do go up against Mermail, then hey, you have 2 cards straight away you can side out easily. 2 Maxi is the final monster lineup. This is just for going seconds if you want to control your opponent a little bit more. Going first in Paleozoic is a little bit annoying, honestly, but it's not the end of the world. But having something like a Maxi is a really important stun card that you basically stop your opponent. If you can drop it straight away on your ABC player, or when your opponent tries to special summon out the Burning Abyss cards, it's a really solid card to use. So that's why I use it. So going to the spells, there's not that many. We have 2 Pot of Desire. So I'm running Pot of Desire over Card of Demise. So I just want to go over a little bit why. So in my original build, I was running Card of Demise. Card of Demise is absolutely great card. Obviously, we all know how much I like that card. But in this particular build, it really impacted on your ability to make plays. The only thing you can really do is draw, discard, and set. Whereas with the Frog engine, the frogs are really decent in the fact that pretty much every turn you can make an Xe play, and that's why I like them. But you really need to be able to make those Xe plays with the back row backup to be able to survive against big meta decks, and Card of Demise more often than not put me behind. I have a lot of cards, obviously stun cards in version of traps, but it was just one of those really weird things. I'd rather banish and draw 2 than draw 3 and not be able to do anything. So that's kind of why I run Card of Demise. Well, that's why I run Pot of Desire, sorry, over Card of Demise. And only 2 simply because you don't need any more than that. You don't want to be drawing that 3rd. Arguably, you want to be kind of banishing the 2nd one, but hey, you can activate a 2nd if you so wish. 2 Twin Twister. Twin Twister is obviously brilliant. Discarding in this deck is completely fine. Back row can stop you and hurt you. You can grind through it. There's been many decks when I've been testing this, I've ground through back row and it's not been that much of an issue, but having a Twin Twister as well as setting up your graveyard for your existing Paleozoics is a really important thing, and it just really helps you. It means that you can get on top very, very quickly. So having the 2 Twin Twister is good. It's also mainly before the discard outlet. And then finally we have the 1 Raigeki. Yes, I have my ultimate now. Thank you to Martin Harries from YCS Liverpool. Yeah, Raigeki is just good again because the deck kind of struggles with established boards. You really need to make like a Cat Shark and Totally Awesome to be able to push through, and it's just much easier if I can go, okay, I'm just going to Raigeki you and that's that. So only playing what's that, 5 spells, and then yeah, going on to the trap. So the Paleozoic lineup, we have 3 Dinomischus. Dinomischus is one of the best cards for the deck. So just to give you an idea of the Paleozoics, what they do is they are trap cards that when you activate, or when a trap is activated, excluding the counter traps of course, you can then chain the summon to this card from the graveyard. So if I activate something like a Wobaku for example, I can then chain my Dinomischus in the graveyard to special summon it. They come out as normal, water, aqua, 1200 attack monsters, and they are unaffected by monster effects as well. But when they do go to the graveyard, when they do leave the field, sorry, they are banished. Now you get around that by overlaying them, and then they just go straight back to the graveyard. So that's one of the main things. So they all have those effects, and then they have effects on top of it. So Dinomischus is one of the better ones in the deck, simply because it allows you to target a face-up card on the field, then you discard a card. It's not a cost to discard, and very important, none of them really have that. You discard a card and then banish that card, so it's really decent for getting rid of really annoying monsters your opponent might have. Also getting rid of field spells to get around the destruction effect. It's just really good like that, and that's why I do really like Dinomischus. So we get rid of them. So next up we have 3 Canadia. This card's just brilliant. I really do like it. It's basically a Book of Moon effect. You target your opponent's monster and flip it face down. It's really good for disrupting your opponent's plays, and just in general amazing. It's one of my favourite ones of this, if I'm honest, because it really can disrupt your opponent, and it's super easy to be able to fill its activation requirements. So being able to chain your own monsters as well is super easy. Next up we have one of the older cards as well. This is basically your Mystical Space Typhoon. It's just target a spell, a trap card and destroy it. So it's a really good one as well because it helps you control that back row. I really like it just in general, being able to use it with your Xe and just straight from the hand be able to play it as a Mystical Space Typhoon. But yeah, it's a really good one, and again really easy to activate it, or meet its activation requirement, so then you can special summon out more Paleozoics. Next up we have Topeka. Pika Pika, you could say, but I just call it Pika, it's much easier. A lot of people play this at 3, and yes, of course, first and foremost, I played this at 3 as well. But one thing that I found is that the fact that this card is searchable, all the Paleozoics are searchable with the new Xe monster, which I'll get to in a little bit. The fact that you have to discard a Paleozoic to be able to draw the 2 is a little bit annoying, especially when you have something like Dinomischus as well that doesn't require Paleozoic to be discarded, it's just 1 card. But your hands can get very, very small very, very quickly. And Pika is fine at 2. I haven't really had a problem with it just at 2. Now again, I know a lot of people who do play the Paleozoics might say, well that's awful, you need to play it at 3. Honestly, I found playing it at 2 is completely fine. I never really needed a 3rd one. If I resolve 2, I'm normally winning. So that's why I just basically play 2, and it works really, really well. Next up we have one of the brand new ones. We have the Paleozoic Lichionella? Something like that. I kind of was considering bumping this up to 3, but I think I might side another one depending on the matchup. So this one says target 1 banished card and return it to the graveyard. Very simple effect, and then obviously has the usual stuff. So it works really well with your deck because not only can you put some possible banished Paleozoic traps back into your graveyard, but you can put your banished frogs back into the graveyard as well, allowing fuel for the Ronan Toad in plays. So not only can you, for example, some of the best plays, simple plays, is you activate this, then you activate a Paleozoic engrave to special summon it, then you put a dupe back in grave, for example, and then Ronan Toad banishes itself to come back, and you've got an instant Xe play just from 1 card. So it's just really, really nice, and I really do like it. The good thing about it as well is that it does interrupt your opponent. So if you are going against ABCs and your opponent has three of their, for example, three of their ABC cards in the banish zone, and they have a Buster Dragon out and they go to activate, you're just like, no, I'm going to stop you with this now and just put one of them back. It's just really good for disrupting some plays, and that's why I really do like it, because it just targets anything, and it's just brilliant. So it's really good. So there are all the Paleozoic cards. Going on to the support cards, we have 3 Legacy of the Yatagarasu. Now, a lot of people also played Reckless Greed over this card, and in testing I found that I wanted just that straight trade, that just one draw, instead of getting that technical +1 but not being able to draw for the next 2 turns. Now, even if you do combo it off, being able to activate multiple Reckless Greeds, I still prefer just having the 1, because it means that I have more time to be able to control my graveyard, control my plays, and I can get to those single Paleozoic summons very, very easily. So that's kind of why I really like Legacy, and I wouldn't really change that one, to be honest. Next up, one of the big money cards. We have 3-Dimensional Barrier. If you don't know what Dimensional Barrier does, it's basically a big no to your opponent. You call Xyz monster. You call basically Xyz. The different types of monster effects: Fusion, Synchro, Ritual, Pendulum. I blanked all there. Apologies. And your opponent, neither of you can special summon or activate those effects. So it's just absolutely amazing, really good for being able to stun your opponent, especially have a totally awesome out. So I really do like the card like that, and I feel it is one of those staples, unfortunately. A lot of people are going to ask me, what would you play instead of these if you couldn't afford them, because obviously it's about £150 for a playset currently, and that is just ridiculous in my opinion, but I've been lucky to be able to get them. You could play different things like singular trap cards that allow you to activate Paleozoics and Graves, so you could play your Fiendish Chains or something like that will just stun your opponent. So there are a lot of other cards out there, but right now this is the best card that you can possibly play. As I said, there are loads of other ones that you technically could go into, like a Fiendish Chain or something like that. Depends on how you want to play it. Breakthrough Skill's also a pretty decent one. So yeah, it's just all about playing and seeing which you kind of prefer. Next up, we have 2 Floodgate Trap Hole. This is just to stop my opponent from any annoying plays. It's really good for stunning them, and yeah, just in general, Floodgate is a good card, so that's why I run it. Next up, we have 2 Aunty Spell Fragrance. So I play 5 spell cards, so why not run Aunty Spell? Aunty Spell has been given a bit of a strange name in the fact that it's a really good card, but then some people disagree with this format not being that great. Honestly, at worst case, it's a sideable out card, and it can stop a lot of plays. If you go up against ABC, you can first turn you can stop their Union Hanger plays. Go against Blue Eyes, you cripple them quite heavily. So you can see the way that it's going. Obviously, against Burning Abyss, you're dead in the water with that card, but it means that you can side it out. So it's just one of those strange things, and it's down to yourself if you do want to run it. Personally, I am liking how it is running in testing. I was really stopping my opponent, because even just allowing 1 extra turn for you means that you can possibly set up with multiple Totally Awesomes and others. So yeah, it's really good, and I do like it. Then finally, we have the Solemn Brigade. I believe I have 43 cards in deck. Now, I have a slightly bigger lineup simply because I do have the Desires, and if I do activate the second Desires, it simply means that I'm not going to deck out instantly. Another very important thing about one of the Paleozoics, specifically, I forget its name, Leech, is that if you do banish cards with the Desires, you can put it back with this card, because it says target 1 banished card. Banished card is just the general term, and you can target anything. So you can put back your Paleozoics back into the graveyard, or your missing frogs if you so wish. So that's a very important thing to note. And then, as I said, yeah, the 3 Solemns, the Solemn Brigade, is just kind of needed because, you know, you're playing a controlling deck, so that makes sense. So going on to the extra deck, we have the money card itself. We have 3 Totally Awesome. Honestly, you kinda need Totally Awesome to play this deck at full power, if I'm honest. I know a lot of people are going to be, oh, I don't want to pay out for this deck. Yeah, it's just one of those things, unfortunately. This is the main card that you're going to be going into about 80% of the time. And it is just absolutely amazing. Being able to special summon your dupes and just your swap frogs from the deck just for in each standby phase, because it says during the standby phase, then being able to negate anything, being able to, if you have, for example, a frog in your hand, He can negate and send the frog from your hand to the graveyard, so it's just so good. You don't even lose board presence. But good things to do is to make sure that you can try and back yourself up with another monster, specifically like an Acro on your side of the field, so you can fulfill the requirement of this card, and it just means that you don't get rid of it. But obviously there are really good other effects on it, but I'm sure you guys all know that. So 3 totally awesome. It's kind of needed, if I'm honest, and I know a lot of people probably won't like that if they do want to play this deck, but that's just a necessary evil, unfortunately, so I'm really sorry about that if you can't play it. Next up, we have one of the brand new Paleozoics. It is Paleozoic Opabina. I can never pronounce these names, I'm awful with it. But this is one of the best Paleozoics for this deck. So if you don't know what it does, it says, and I quote, it requires 2 level 2 monsters. It's unaffected by monster effects. You can activate Paleozoic trap cards from your hand. So you don't even have to set them when this is on the field. It's a really important effect, and the second important effect is if it has a trap card as an Xe material that was originally a trap card, you can detach a material and search your deck for a Paleozoic card. So not only can you search a Paleozoic trap card, you can activate it straight away. A lot of my basic plays will be to go with a Paleozoic trap and, for example, a Ronan Toad in to overlay into this, detach the Ronan Toad in because you want to keep that trap card there for next turn. To be able to search out anything else, then you can activate it from your hands and you just see where the plays go from there. If you really are in a bit of a pickle, you can detach the trap, search the trap, activate. So it just kind of depends on the situation, but more often than not, I'd say about 8 times out of 10, I am definitely discarding that Ronin because you can normally bring it back because you'll have loaded up your graveyard. But this is absolutely amazing. I try and go into this one as much as possible, and worst case scenario, it's a good tribute for the cost to send for the totally awesome. So once you've used it up, you can just send it and it's no problem at all. So yeah, it's really good. Next up, we have the older Paleozoic. I don't go into this one all that much because it does require 3 or more level 2s, but it's still good. It's still a good card to go into if you do need it to be able to pop cards on the field. So it isn't that often that I go into it, but keeping 2 is still important for me. But what I may do is cut it to 1 and put Abina back up to 3 because it is such an important card in my opinion. Next up, one of the best cards for this deck is 2 Cat Shark. Now, I am going to live and die by this hype, but Cat Shark is broken in this deck. If you don't know what it does, it requires 2 level 2s. And it says that if this card has an Xe material attached to it that was originally a water, this card can't be destroyed by battle. So not only can't it be destroyed by battle, the second effect is coming. It says, once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach an Xe material from this card, then targets 1 rank 4 or lower Xe monster you control. Its attack and defense each become double its original attack and defense until the end of the turn. So what do you do with this? Use it with Totally Awesome, and you make it a 4/4 negation monster. So Totally Awesome being 4/4 is dangerously scary, but it's still so good, and that's why I like it. It can't be destroyed by battle. It's just absolutely amazing, and I really live and die by this card. Often than not, this is my out to pretty much everything that I can't technically get over on attack points. So Cat Shark is absolutely brutally important in my opinion, and you should really consider getting it if you don't already. Next up, we have the number 45. These are just kind of the generic rank 2s that you can go into. If, for example, you want to play like Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherry, in the main deck, a lot of these can be cut for things like ABC Dragon or Dante, or very important cards that your opponent may have in their extra deck. It's completely down to yourself, but Logos is one. Utopic Future is another one. This is, excuse me, just here simply because sometimes I can clog up my board going into dead Xe cards that I've already used. So, for example, a Cat Shark, so on and so forth. Overlay, remove the problem. Then we have a Shining Elf. This is just, again, random cards that you can use. A Sky Cavalry, a Armor Kappa, and then a Gachi Gantetsu. So, as I said, it just completely depends the extra deck up to that point. But the most important ones, I would say, are obviously the Totally Awesomes, the 2 Paleozoics and the Cat Shark. They are the most important cards for this deck in the extra deck. Everything else is negotiable and down to personal preference. So that is it, guys. That is the Paleozoic deck profile. I hope you did enjoy it. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think of the deck and how it can perform. It may surprise you because it has topped in the OCG, as I said earlier, quite a lot. So if you go up against it, be very careful with what you do. So as I said, let me know down in the comment section below. Make sure to give me a like, comment, subscribe, and enjoy the replay.